Ethan stared out the small window of the spaceship as it descended through the swirling purple clouds of Zephora. He had never traveled so far from Earth before. The planet below shimmered like a jewel, with tall crystal towers and rivers that glowed faintly in soft shades of blue and green. Ethan's stomach twisted with a mix of excitement and fear. He was about to enter a school unlike any other, an academy for the most gifted alien students in the galaxy. And he, a human boy, would be the only male in his entire class. The shuttle landed softly on a smooth, reflective landing pad. Ethan stepped out and felt the alien air brush against his skin. It was warm but carried a faint electric tingle. He looked around at the towering structure before him. The academy was enormous, with spiraling towers, floating bridges, and gardens that seemed alive, moving gently like they had a rhythm of their own. "Welcome, Ethan," said a calm voice. Ethan turned to see a tall alien with silvery skin and eyes like polished amber. "I am Professor Venix, your guide during your time here. Follow me." Ethan nodded, trying to appear confident, though his heart raced. He had heard stories about how strange Zephyran schools could be. Humans had very different ways of thinking, moving, and communicating. Ethan had to be careful not to offend anyone. As they walked through the academy halls, Ethan noticed the other students. They were all girls, and each looked completely different from the others. One had 2 sets of arms and green skin that shimmered like polished jade. Another had wings folded neatly on her back, her translucent skin reflecting the lights of the corridor. A few had long tails, others had glowing eyes, and some had smooth, metallic-looking skin. Every face seemed to carry a story, and every glance made Ethan feel both nervous and out of place. Finally, they reached his classroom. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Ethan stepped inside, his eyes widening. The room was full of alien girls, each seated in a levitating chair that hovered a few inches above the floor. They looked up as he entered, their gazes a mixture of curiosity, surprise, and amusement. Ethan's pulse quickened. "Classmate Ethan," Professor Venix said. "He will be joining you for the duration of the term." A whisper ran through the room, soft and musical, almost like wind chimes. Ethan's ears burned. He tried to smile, but it felt awkward. Some of the girls tilted their heads, studying him with strange, bright eyes. And then he noticed her. Lyria. Lyria sat near the front, her violet skin shimmering faintly, her hair flowing like liquid silver. Her large, luminescent eyes were fixed on Ethan. Unlike the others, she did not whisper to anyone else. She simply stared, her gaze calm but intense. Ethan felt a strange flutter in his chest. He had never been stared at like this before. "Take a seat, Ethan," Professor Venix said. "And remember, respect the customs of our school. Sci-Fi learning is very different from what you are used to." Ethan nodded and carefully chose an empty chair at the back. As he sat, he noticed that every other student watched him, but Lyria's gaze stayed with him longer than anyone else's. He couldn't tell if she was curious, surprised, or something else entirely. The first lesson began. The professor wrote strange symbols on the floating blackboard, and the words shimmered as if alive. Ethan struggled to understand. These symbols were unlike any language he had studied. Even the math problems were alien, involving shapes and numbers that could shift in 3 dimensions. He tried to concentrate, but it was difficult. His mind kept drifting to Lyria. Every time he glanced at her, she seemed to be smiling faintly as if she understood more than she let on. During the break, Ethan stood awkwardly by the window, watching the floating gardens outside. Students drifted past him, their wings or tails brushing lightly against each other. A few whispered in a language he did not understand. Some glanced at him and then giggled softly. He felt a little lonely, but he also noticed Lyria approaching. "Hello," she said softly, her voice musical but easy to understand. Surprisingly, she spoke in basic galactic, the universal language most aliens and humans used. "You are the human boy, right?" "Yes," Ethan replied, trying to sound confident. "I'm Ethan, you are." "Lyria," she said, her eyes twinkling. "I haven't met a human before. I've never seen your kind. You are different." Ethan swallowed nervously. "I guess that makes sense. You're different too." Lyria laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes. "Yes, we are all different. But I like your kind of thinking. You look at things in a way we do not always see." Ethan felt a small surge of pride. "Thanks, I'm trying to understand your world." Lyria nodded. "I will help you. But you must learn quickly. Cipher in school is not easy. They talked quietly, sharing small stories about their worlds. Ethan described Earth's oceans, forests, and cities. Lyria listened intently, asking questions he had never thought of answering before. Slowly, the nervousness in Ethan's chest began to fade. He realized that maybe, just maybe, he could survive here. When the bell rang for the next class, Lyria gestured for him to follow her. She led him to a laboratory filled with glowing instruments and floating orbs. The other students were already working in groups, experimenting with strange materials and energy fields. Ethan felt overwhelmed. He had never seen technology like this before. "Don't worry," Lyria whispered. "I will show you what to do." With her help, Ethan carefully adjusted the controls of a hovering orb, making it rotate and emit soft light. The other students watched him, some with surprise, some with curiosity. For the first time, Ethan felt like he belonged. Lyria smiled at him, and he returned the smile, feeling a warmth he had not expected. As the day went on, Ethan realized that learning in this alien academy was not just about knowledge. It was about observation, creativity, and adaptation. Every alien girl had unique abilities and perspectives. Ethan had to think differently, use his instincts, and sometimes act before he even fully understood what was happening. It was exhausting, but also exciting. By the end of the day, Ethan was tired but not defeated. He had survived his first day among the alien students, and he had made a connection with Lyria, the girl who could not stop staring. He did not yet know what her feelings meant, but he felt that she might become an important part of his life here. As he walked back to his room, Ethan looked up at the night sky of Zyphora. The stars were brighter than he had ever seen, and the moons hung low and close, casting soft light over the alien city. He thought about the days ahead, the lessons, the challenges, and the mysteries of this strange, wonderful place. For the first time since he left Earth, Ethan felt a spark of excitement. Maybe being the only human boy in a class full of alien girls was not a curse. Maybe it was the beginning of an adventure he could never have imagined. And somewhere deep in his chest, Ethan knew that Lyria's gaze, so constant and so curious, would guide him through the days to come. The next morning, Ethan woke up early in his small dormitory room. The sunlight filtering through the alien city's sky was soft and golden, reflecting off the crystal towers in the distance. He felt nervous and excited. Yesterday had been overwhelming, but he had survived, and even made a small connection with Lyria. As he got ready, he glanced at the small mirror on the wall. Humans often looked ordinary compared to aliens, and he had to admit, looking at his reflection, he felt a little out of place. His hair was messy, and his clothes were simple compared to the shimmering fabrics some of the alien students wore. But he straightened his posture and took a deep breath. Today he would try to do better. When he arrived in the classroom, most of the alien girls were already seated. They whispered to each other, throwing curious glances at Ethan. He noticed a few giggles, but some smiles seemed friendly. Lyria was already at her usual seat near the front. Her violet skin shimmered softly in the morning light, and her eyes brightened as she noticed him. "Good morning," she said quietly as he took his seat beside her. "Good morning," Ethan replied, feeling a little more confident than yesterday. Professor Venix floated in, his silver skin glowing faintly. "Today we will continue our studies in interstellar strategy," he announced. "Human minds are often unique in their approach. Ethan, you may find some lessons familiar while others will challenge you. Pay attention and think creatively." Ethan nodded, and the lesson began. The first challenge involved a complex simulation. The classroom transformed into a holographic battlefield. Energy fields, moving platforms, and strange alien creatures appeared around them. Each student was expected to guide a small squad using their mind and gestures. The alien girls moved fluidly, some using telepathy, others with gestures that controlled energy fields. Ethan hesitated. His hands trembled as he tried to manipulate the controls. Nothing seemed to work. A small group of alien girls snickered quietly, but Lyria leaned toward him. "Watch carefully," she whispered. "You don't have to copy us. Think like a human. Use your instincts." Ethan took a deep breath and focused. He realized that while the aliens relied on precision and speed, humans often succeeded with creativity and quick thinking. He made his squad take unexpected routes, using terrain and timing in ways the simulation had not anticipated. The result was astonishing. The holographic creatures were trapped, and the field glowed with success indicators. The classroom erupted with quiet murmurs of surprise. Professor Venix's eyes gleamed with approval. Well done, Ethan, very well done. Sometimes the human approach is unpredictable yet effective. This is a valuable lesson for all of you. Ethan felt a rush of pride. For the first time, he realized that being human was not a disadvantage in this alien academy. His differences were strengths. Lyria smiled at him warmly, her gaze lingering just a moment longer than necessary. Ethan felt his heart race. After the simulation, the students were given a group assignment to design a small device that could store and release energy safely. Ethan was paired with Lyria and another girl named Kira, who had sleek silver skin and glowing blue eyes. Kira watched Ethan closely, her expression neutral but her eyes sharp. Humans are not usually strong in engineering, Kira said quietly, almost to herself. Ethan felt his cheeks warm, but stayed calm. I can try, he said simply. Lyria glanced at him, her eyes encouraging. Don't worry, Ethan, just focus on ideas. I will help with the calculations. Together, the three of them examined the floating blueprints. Lyria suggested methods to stabilize energy fields, while Ethan proposed a simple but clever mechanism to store the energy more efficiently. Kira raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed despite herself. Not bad, she admitted quietly. You think differently. By the end of the class, their device was completed and functioned perfectly in the testing chamber. Professor Venix floated by, nodding with satisfaction. Excellent teamwork. Ethan, your human perspective combined with alien expertise produced a remarkable result. Remember this. It is the mix of differences that creates the strongest solutions. During lunch, Ethan sat with Lyria at a small table overlooking the floating gardens. The view was breathtaking. Glowing plants swayed gently in the air, and small floating creatures zipped between flowers. Lyria offered him a plate of zephyrin fruit glowing softly in pastel colors. Try this, she said. It is sweet but a little unusual for humans. Ethan took a cautious bite. The flavor was tangy and sweet at the same time, unlike anything he had tasted on Earth. He smiled. This is amazing. I've never had anything like it. Lyria laughed softly. I thought you might like it. Sci-Fi has many flavors humans cannot imagine. They talked about their worlds again. Ethan described Earth's forests, oceans, and cities. Lyria shared stories about Zephora, about her family, and about the pressures alien students face to succeed. She explained the different subjects at the academy, including diplomacy, technology, and interstellar survival. Ethan listened, fascinated, realizing how much he still had to learn. As they finished lunch, Kira approached, her glowing eyes focused on Ethan. You did well today, she said, her tone polite but firm. But remember, not all humans succeed here. You are lucky to have Lyria guiding you. Ethan nodded, feeling slightly uncomfortable under her intense gaze. But he noticed Lyria subtly place her hand near his arm in a quiet, protective gesture. Ethan felt a strange warmth, realizing that Lyria was becoming his ally in this new world. The afternoon lessons were even more challenging. Students had to decode alien languages, manipulate energy streams, and solve logic puzzles that changed shape in real time. Ethan struggled at first, making mistakes and falling behind. But each time he faltered, Lyria whispered encouragement or gave him a small tip. Slowly, Ethan began to understand the patterns and his confidence grew. During a break, Ethan walked through the gardens outside the classroom. The soft glow of the plants and the gentle hum of the floating creatures calmed his mind. Lyria joined him, carrying a small glowing orb. Your first day was impressive, she said. You think differently, and that is important here. Humans may be rare, but they can teach us things too. Ethan smiled. Thanks, Lyria. I didn't think I could do all this at first. It's easier with you helping me. Lyria tilted her head, her eyes sparkling. I am curious about humans. You see the world in ways we do not. I want to understand more. About you. Ethan felt a rush of warmth. He had never met anyone so interested in him before. Not just curious, but genuinely wanting to understand. He realized that he could trust her, and that maybe he could even make a friend here in this strange, challenging place. As the sun set over Zephora, casting long purple shadows across the floating towers, Ethan returned to his dorm room. He was exhausted, but his mind buzzed with excitement. He had survived his second day, learned new things, and discovered a friend in Lyria. Before he went to sleep, Ethan looked out at the alien city once more. The floating bridges, glowing rivers, and towering crystals seemed less intimidating now. He felt a spark of hope. Maybe being the only human in a class full of alien girls was not a mistake or a challenge he could not handle. Maybe it was an opportunity, an adventure unlike anything he had imagined. And somewhere in his thoughts, Ethan felt a quiet excitement. Lyria's gaze, so observant and so curious, had become a source of comfort. She was not just staring anymore. She was noticing him, understanding him. And for the first time, Ethan felt that he could thrive in this alien world. Ethan woke to the soft hum of Zyphora's morning winds. The light from the twin suns filtered through his window, casting golden and violet streaks across the room. Today promised to be another challenging day at the academy, but Ethan felt ready. He had survived the first 2 days and even impressed some of the alien students. Still, he knew the real test of adaptation had only just begun. He quickly dressed and made his way to the classroom. The floating bridges outside were crowded with students heading to their lessons. Ethan noticed the diversity among the alien girls. Their wings, tails, and limbs moved in ways that were unfamiliar but graceful. Each student seemed perfectly in control of their movements, and Ethan felt a little clumsy in comparison. But he reminded himself, humans may not be as agile as some alien species, but they had other strengths. When he entered the classroom, Lyria was already there, her violet skin glowing faintly in the morning light. She smiled warmly at him. "Good morning, Ethan. Ready for today?" "I think so," Ethan replied, trying to sound confident. I hope I can keep up." "You will," Lyria said simply. "Humans are clever. Just remember to observe and learn." Professor Venix floated to the front of the class. "Today we explore interstellar diplomacy and cultural understanding. Understanding another species' ways is as important as mastering technology or strategy. Ethan, pay close attention. You may find this lesson especially useful." The lesson began with a demonstration. 2 alien students performed a traditional greeting ritual that involved intricate gestures, rhythmic movements, and soft harmonic sounds. Ethan watched, trying to memorize the sequence. His body stiffened as he attempted the gestures, causing a few students to giggle softly. "Careful," Lyria whispered, noticing his struggle. "Your movements are human, yes, but you must try to feel the rhythm." Ethan took a deep breath and let his body follow the flow of the ritual instead of forcing it. Surprisingly, it worked. Though not perfect, he managed to mimic the rhythm well enough to earn a nod of approval from Professor Venix. Lyria smiled at him, her eyes twinkling. After the ritual, students were divided into pairs to practice interspecies communication. Ethan was paired with Talira, an alien with silver scales and multiple arms. She spoke in a language of clicks and hums. Ethan struggled to respond. "I don't understand," he admitted, feeling frustrated. "Humans are slow to learn," Talira said bluntly, her voice soft but direct. "But I will help you. Observe my rhythm." Ethan watched carefully. By paying attention to the patterns, he began to understand Talira's basic words. It was like a puzzle, small pieces gradually forming a picture. Lyria came to his side, helping him interpret gestures and sounds. "You're improving," she said quietly. "Humans may be different, but you notice things we sometimes overlook." Ethan smiled. Lyria's encouragement had become a steady source of confidence. Later, during a lunch break, Ethan sat with Lyria in the floating garden. The glowing plants swayed gently in the air, and tiny, luminescent creatures zipped past. Ethan tried a new zifferin fruit. It tasted sweet and tangy, filling his mouth with an unusual but delightful flavor. "Humans eat simply," Lyria said with a playful tone. "But you seem to enjoy our foods." "I do," Ethan said. "Earth has many foods too, but yours are different." "Amazing." They laughed softly together, enjoying a rare moment of calm amid the intense academy schedule. The afternoon brought a new challenge: the cultural obstacle course. Students had to navigate a series of trials based on alien traditions, from decoding visual signals to negotiating with holographic ambassadors from other worlds. Ethan felt nervous. These were not just physical challenges. They required understanding alien thought patterns and social rules. Lyria stayed close. "Remember, Ethan," she whispered. "Observe, listen, adapt. Humans can solve problems in ways we sometimes cannot predict." Ethan nodded. The course began. He stumbled at first, misinterpreting a gesture that instructed him to turn left. Some alien students glanced at him with mild annoyance. but he quickly adapted, using his understanding of human logic combined with careful observation of the alien rules. At one stage, he encountered a puzzle where holographic ambassadors presented conflicting demands. Most students paused, unsure how to respond. Ethan analyzed the situation differently. He found a compromise that satisfied both parties, using reasoning rather than instinctive protocol. The system acknowledged his solution with a bright green glow, signaling success. "Impressive," Lyria said softly, her eyes wide with admiration. "You see what we cannot see." By the end of the obstacle course, Ethan was tired but exhilarated. He had completed the course and in some ways had outperformed students who had been training for years in alien problem-solving techniques. Lyria's constant support had made a difference. But Ethan realized that his human perspective, the ability to think differently, was his greatest advantage. After class, some alien girls whispered among themselves, clearly noticing Ethan's progress. Kira, who had observed him closely from the beginning, approached with a subtle frown. "You have done well today," Kira said, "but don't think it makes you one of us. You are still a human and humans are unpredictable." Ethan nodded, choosing not to argue. He realized she was not trying to insult him, just warning him that being different came with challenges. Lyria, however, placed a reassuring hand near his shoulder. "Ignore her tone," Lyria said quietly. "You are proving that differences can be strengths. That is more important than any words." Ethan felt grateful. He was beginning to understand the unspoken rules of this academy. The alien girls respected ability and effort, even if humans were not entirely trusted at first. Lyria was more than a friend. She was becoming his guide in this new world. That evening, Ethan returned to his dormitory, reflecting on the day. He thought about the ritual gestures, the obstacle course, and the complex problem-solving he had completed. Humans were small compared to some alien species and physically different, but their minds could be just as sharp, if not sharper, when used creatively. He pulled out a small notebook he had brought from Earth. Writing down his thoughts had become a habit, a way to process everything he had experienced. He wrote about Lyria's kindness, the strange and beautiful customs he had learned, and the unexpected respect he had earned from his classmates. As he finished writing, there was a soft knock on the door. Ethan opened it to see Lyria standing there holding a small glowing orb. "I wanted to give you this," she said softly. "It is a reminder of today. You learned well and you are adapting. You are human, yes, but that is not a weakness. It is something special." Ethan took the orb carefully. It pulsed gently in his hands, a warm light that seemed to reflect Lyria's eyes. He felt a surge of happiness and gratitude. "Thank you, Lyria. I couldn't have done it without your help." "You are welcome," she said with a soft smile. "Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but I believe in you." Ethan nodded, feeling a sense of determination. Being in a class full of alien girls was still strange and sometimes overwhelming, but he was learning. He was proving that humans could adapt, think creatively, and even gain respect in worlds far beyond their own. As Lyria left, Ethan looked out at the glowing towers of Zephora. He realized that this academy, with all its challenges and differences, was giving him something he had never expected: confidence. He was no longer just a human boy in a strange alien world. He was a student, a problem solver, and maybe slowly, a part of this extraordinary community. And somewhere in the quiet of his dormitory, Ethan felt the comforting thought that Lyria's gaze, so curious, so encouraging, would always be there, guiding him through whatever trials lay ahead. The morning sun of Zephora shone softly over the floating gardens as Ethan stepped out of his dormitory. The air was warm, carrying a faint tingle that seemed to hum against his skin. Today felt different. The challenges were growing, and Ethan knew he had to prove himself not just to the professors, but to his classmates as well. When he arrived at the classroom, Lyria was already there, her violet skin shimmering in the light. She waved at him quietly, and he felt a small surge of happiness. Over the past few days, they had formed a strong connection. She guided him, encouraged him, and now, Ethan felt that he had someone who truly understood the struggles of being the only human boy in a class full of alien girls. "Good morning, Ethan," Lyria said softly. "I think today's lessons will be interesting." "I'm ready," Ethan replied, trying to sound confident. "I think I'm learning fast thanks to you." Lyria smiled, and for a moment Ethan felt the nervous tension in his chest ease. Professor Venix floated into the room, his silver skin gleaming faintly. Today we will focus on teamwork and adaptability. You will work in groups to complete a series of interstellar simulations. Remember, communication and trust are as important as intelligence and skill. Ethan's heart raced. The simulations were designed to challenge students physically, mentally, and socially. He was paired with Lyria and another girl, Kira, who had sleek silver skin and piercing blue eyes. Ethan felt a flicker of concern. Kira had always been distant, observing him with sharp eyes. She had praised him for his creativity before, but there was a tension between them that Ethan could not ignore. The simulation began. Their team had to navigate a floating labyrinth filled with energy barriers, shifting platforms, and holographic creatures. Lyria moved gracefully, guiding their path, while Kira executed precise maneuvers with her multiple arms. Ethan felt clumsy at first, struggling to match their speed and coordination. Focus on the patterns, Lyria whispered. Think differently. Humans see things we sometimes miss. Ethan observed carefully and noticed a pattern in the shifting platforms. Instead of following the path the others were taking, he suggested a shortcut that no one else had noticed. Lyria hesitated for a moment, but then nodded, trusting his instincts. They moved together, and their shortcut worked perfectly, bypassing several obstacles. Kira glanced at Ethan with surprise. That was unexpected, she said quietly. Not bad, human. Ethan smiled, feeling a small boost of confidence. He realized that his human way of thinking, creative, unpredictable, was a real advantage. After completing the simulation, the class gathered for a debrief. Professor Venix floated before them, his eyes glowing faintly. Excellent work, Team Lyria. You demonstrated adaptability, observation, and trust. Ethan, your unique perspective was critical to your success. Remember, differences are not weaknesses, they can be strengths. Ethan felt proud. The words sank in deeply. He had struggled, stumbled, and worried about fitting in, but he was beginning to prove himself. And Lyria's constant support had made a difference. During the afternoon, the students were given a new assignment, an interstellar negotiation simulation. They had to represent different planets and resolve conflicts without violence. Ethan's group was paired against other students who had more experience and advanced skills. The simulation started, and Ethan felt nervous. The other students spoke quickly in alien languages and used gestures he had never seen before. Lyria whispered translations and advice, guiding him through the complex interactions. Ethan decided to take a bold approach. Instead of following the traditional negotiation methods, he used human logic, finding compromises that satisfied all parties. The other students were surprised, and some even paused, unsure how to respond. By the end of the exercise, Ethan's team succeeded in resolving the conflict. Professor Venix floated forward, nodding with approval. Remarkable. Your approach shows that even a human perspective can achieve harmony in ways others might not expect. Lyria's eyes sparkled with admiration. You're incredible, Ethan, she said softly. You really understand how to think differently. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. Her words meant more than any praise from the professor. He was beginning to realize that their friendship, maybe more, was growing stronger, but not everyone was happy. Kira, who had been quiet during the negotiations, pulled Lyria aside. Why are you helping him so much? She asked sharply. Lyria frowned. He's learning. He's adapting. Isn't that what we all want? Kira's eyes narrowed. Yes, but humans are unpredictable. You're giving him an advantage. Lyria shook her head. He's not a threat. He's different, that's all. Kira didn't respond, but Ethan could feel her tension. He realized that being the only human meant that some students were not only curious but also wary of him. That thought made him more determined to prove that humans could be capable, clever, and respected. The next challenge came in the form of a zero-gravity obstacle course. Students floated through a vast chamber filled with floating platforms, energy walls, and moving targets. Ethan's heart raced as he tried to adjust to the weightless environment. He flailed at first, almost colliding with a wall, but Lyria quickly grabbed his hand and guided him. Relax, she whispered. Move with the flow, not against it. Ethan followed her advice. Slowly, he adapted, using his human instincts to time his movements and anticipate obstacles. Together, they navigated the course, and Ethan even managed to complete a tricky section using an unexpected approach that impressed the other students. Kira watched silently, clearly impressed despite herself. Humans may have potential after all, she muttered. By the end of the day, Ethan was exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced challenges, navigated cultural differences, and learned to rely on both his instincts and Lyria's guidance. More importantly, he was gaining respect, not just from Lyria, but from other students who had begun to notice his skills. After classes, Ethan and Lyria walked through the floating gardens. The soft glow of the plants and the gentle hum of the creatures created a calm atmosphere. "You did well today," Lyria said, her eyes warm. "I'm proud of you," Ethan smiled. "Thanks, Lyria. I couldn't have done it without you." Lyria shook her head gently. "You did it yourself. I just helped you see what you already had inside." Ethan felt a quiet pride. For the first time, he believed in his own abilities. Being different, being human, was not a weakness, it was something special. As they reached the dormitories, Lyria turned to him. "Tomorrow there will be more challenges, but I believe in you. Remember, humans can see solutions where others cannot. That is your strength." Ethan nodded. "I'll do my best and thank you, Lyria, for everything." She smiled and walked away, her violet skin glowing softly in the evening light. Ethan watched her go, feeling a sense of calm and determination. He had faced challenges, navigated rivalries, and begun to prove himself in ways he had never imagined. That night, Ethan reflected on the day. He wrote in his small notebook, detailing the lessons he had learned, the moments of success, and the growing friendship with Lyria. He also thought about Kira and the subtle tension she brought into the class. It was clear that being the only human boy in this alien academy came with both opportunities and challenges. But Ethan no longer felt afraid. He understood that he had something unique to offer: human ingenuity, creativity, and determination. And with Lyria by his side, he felt ready to face whatever the academy would throw at him next. As he drifted to sleep, Ethan looked out at Zephora's night sky. The stars shimmered above the floating towers, and the twin moons cast soft light over the city. He felt a quiet excitement. He was not just surviving in this alien world. He was learning, growing, and slowly finding his place. And somewhere deep in his thoughts, Ethan knew one thing for certain: Lyria's gaze, so curious and encouraging, would continue to guide him through the challenges ahead, no matter how strange or difficult they might be. The morning light of Zephora spilled across the academy, bathing the floating towers and gardens in a warm golden glow. Ethan awoke with a mixture of excitement and nerves. Today was the final day of the intensive training cycle, a day that would test everything he had learned. He had grown more confident over the past days, but he knew the final challenge would push him to his limits. After a quick breakfast, Ethan made his way to the classroom. Lyria was already there, her violet skin glowing faintly in the sunlight. She smiled at him, and he felt a small surge of reassurance. "Good morning, Ethan," she said softly. "Are you ready for today?" "I think so," Ethan replied, trying to steady his racing heart. "I've learned a lot, and I want to prove myself," Lyria nodded. "I know you will. Remember, humans see solutions differently. Trust yourself." Professor Venix floated to the front, his silver skin gleaming. "Today's challenge combines all previous lessons: strategy, diplomacy, problem-solving, and teamwork. You will be tested in groups, and your performance will determine your standing in the academy. Ethan, pay attention and trust your instincts." Ethan's group was the same as before: Lyria, Kira, and himself. The final simulation began. The room transformed into a vast holographic landscape, with floating islands, shifting terrain, and holographic creatures representing alien forces. The goal was to secure key resources, negotiate with different factions, and maintain harmony among the teams. At first, the group struggled to coordinate. Kira's precise methods clashed with Ethan's creative approaches. Lyria, as always, acted as the bridge, guiding them and suggesting ways to combine their strengths. "Listen," she whispered to Ethan. "Use what you learned. Think like a human, and don't be afraid to act differently." Ethan nodded, taking a deep breath. He began to suggest unconventional strategies, using floating platforms as shortcuts, setting traps that mimicked natural patterns, and negotiating with factions in ways that the alien students did not expect. At first, Kira frowned, skeptical of his ideas. But when the strategies worked, she began to follow his lead. "I admit, that was clever," she said, her tone grudgingly impressed. Lyria's eyes sparkled with approval. "See? I told you humans have unique strengths. The group worked together more smoothly as the simulation progressed. Ethan's ideas complemented Lyria's guidance and Kira's precision. They navigated complex challenges, outsmarted holographic adversaries, and resolved conflicts between factions efficiently. Each success boosted their confidence, and by the final stage of the simulation, their team was leading. Professor Venix observed silently, his amber eyes flickering with pride. Remarkable teamwork. Ethan, your human perspective has been invaluable. You have shown creativity, adaptability, and courage. These are qualities all species can learn from. Ethan felt a swell of pride. For the first time, he truly felt he belonged in the academy. The other students, who had once watched him with curiosity and skepticism, now looked at him with respect. Lyria smiled at him, her gaze lingering longer than usual, and Ethan felt his heart warm. After the simulation, the students gathered in the floating garden for a celebration. Soft lights glowed around the plants, and tiny luminescent creatures floated through the air. Ethan sat with Lyria and Kira, feeling both accomplished and relieved. Today was amazing, Ethan said, still catching his breath. I never thought I could handle all of this. You did more than handle it, Lyria said softly. You excelled. You proved that being human is not a weakness, it is a strength. Kira nodded. I was wrong to doubt you. You are clever, resourceful, and capable of thinking beyond what we expected. Humans may be different, but you can teach us as much as we teach you. Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. He had started as the only human boy in a class full of alien girls, unsure if he would fit in. Now he realized that his differences were valued and respected. As the celebration continued, Lyria led Ethan to a quiet corner of the garden. The soft glow of the floating plants and the gentle hum of creatures created a peaceful atmosphere. You've done incredibly well, she said softly. I'm proud of you, Ethan. Not just for your success today, but for adapting, learning, and showing who you are. Ethan felt a surge of gratitude. I couldn't have done it without you, Lyria. You guided me, encouraged me, and believed in me when I wasn't sure of myself. Lyria tilted her head, her eyes shining. I didn't need to believe. I saw it in you from the start. Humans have a way of seeing solutions differently. You have courage and creativity that is rare. For a moment, they stood in silence, watching the glowing garden. Ethan felt a deep sense of connection, not just with Lyria, but with this new world. He had faced challenges, overcome fears, and discovered strengths he never knew he had. Suddenly, Kira approached, her expression softer than usual. Ethan, she said, I wanted to apologize for doubting you. You've shown us that humans can be as capable as any alien student. I respect that, Ethan nodded. Thank you, Kira. That means a lot. Kira gave a small smile and walked away, leaving Ethan and Lyria alone. Ethan felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. He had not only proven himself, but also gained respect and understanding from his classmates. As the day ended, Professor Venix addressed the class one final time. You have all performed remarkably. Ethan, your contributions have been exceptional. You have shown that differences can be strengths, and that learning from one another is the key to success. Remember this lesson. It will serve you well in all aspects of life. Ethan felt a sense of pride and fulfillment. He had started as a nervous human boy, unsure of how he would fit in. Now he had proven himself, gained respect, and formed meaningful connections. That evening, Ethan and Lyria walked through the academy's floating gardens one last time. The soft glow of the plants and the calm hum of the creatures created a serene atmosphere. You've grown so much in just a few days, Lyria said softly. I knew you could do it, Ethan, but I'm glad you see it too. Ethan smiled. I never imagined I could handle all of this, but having you by my side made a difference. You helped me see what I was capable of. Lyria reached out and touched his hand gently. You didn't need me to succeed, Ethan. You had it in you all along. I just helped you notice it. Ethan felt a warmth spread through his chest. He realized that being human in this alien world had been a challenge, but it had also been an opportunity, a chance to grow, learn, and discover his own strengths. As they watched the twin moons rise over Zephora, Ethan felt a deep sense of connection to the academy, to his classmates, and to Lyria. He knew that this was only the beginning of his journey, but he felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. For the first time, Ethan felt truly at home in this alien world. He had faced the unknown, overcome obstacles, and discovered that being different was not a weakness, it was a strength. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that his bond with Lyria, forged through challenges, trust, and understanding, would continue to guide him on his journey. The academy, the alien students, and the glowing city of Zephora had once seemed intimidating and strange. Now they felt like a place of opportunity, growth, and connection. Ethan had not only survived, he had thrived. And as he looked at Lyria, standing beside him, her violet skin shimmering softly under the moon's light, Ethan knew that this adventure, this incredible experience of being the only human boy among alien girls, was a story he would carry with him forever.